Next one, monuments. What is monuments? The collection of temples, palaces, mosques, tombs, forts, minars and minarets. That is are called by the collective name monuments. Okay. The Sultan of Delhi introduced a new type of architecture. The inscriptions in these monuments contain rich information which can be used to construct history. In the medieval Khajuraho monuments at Madhya Pradesh and temples in Konark, Odisha and Dilwara, Mount Abu constitute valuable sources to understand the religion-centered cultural evolution in northern India. Temples in Tanjavur, Gangaikonda Cholapuram and Dharasuram symbolize the magnificent structure of the later Cholas built in Tamil Nadu. Vitala and Virupaksha temples at Hampi similarly speak of the contribution of Vijayanagara rulers. Okay, next one. Quaitwal Islam Masjid, Mot Ki Masjid, Jamma Masjid, Fatehpur Sikri, Dargah, all in and around Delhi, and Charminar are the important mosques belonging to the medieval times. Fort of the historical importance are Agra Fort, Sittur Fort, Gwalior Fort and Delhi Red Fort, as well as the forts of Dawladabad and Firozshah Kolta palaces in Jaipur, Jaisalmer and Jodhpur signify the greatness of the Rajput dynasty. Qutub Minar and Alai Darwaza, the tombs of Iltutmish Balban and all the Mughal rulers are the other prominent structures recognized as valuable sources of information. Cities also they are created. Firozabad and Tughlaqabad in North India and Hampi in South India remain rich of the history of medieval India. Next one is coins. You can see here, this he is a Iltutmish, his coin, Alauddin Khilji, his coin is here. We'll see about that coins. The picture and the legend on the coins convey the names of kings with their titles and portraits. Portraits is nothing but images in drawing or painting. Okay, then events, places, dates, dynasties and logos. Okay, in the coins gives us information on the economic condition of the empire. Mention of kings' achievements like military conquests, territorial expansion, trade links and religious faith can also be found in the coins. Muhammad Ghori had stamped the figure of goddess Lakshmi on his gold coins. Can see here this one, and had his name inscribed on it. This coin tells us that this early Turkish invader was in all likelihood liberal in religious outlook. Copper gitals. This is this one. Copper gitals are available for the study of the period of the Delhi Sultans. Silver tanka introduced by Iltutmish, Alauddin Khilji's gold coins, Muhammad bin Tughlaq's copper token currency are indicative of coinage as well as the economic prosperity or otherwise of the country of the time. Okay, you see here, do you know? A gital contained 3.6 grains of silver. Approximately 48 gitals were equal to 1 silver tanka. Okay, now we will see about the secondary sources. Secondary sources under religious literature, secular literature, books, biographies, autobiographies. First one we will see about the religious literature. Here a book and who written that book, that one we will see here. Okay, what is religious literature? This is depend upon the religion centered. Okay. Devotional movement in South India and later in North resulted in the development of Bhakti or devotional literature. The Chola period was known as the period of devotional literature, and work such as Kambaramayanam, Sekila's Periyapuranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham. Okay, Kambaramayanam, Periyapuranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham. This is composed by 12 alvars and compiled by Nadamuni. Devaram composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar and compiled by Nambiyandar Nambi. Manikyavasagas, Tiruvasagam, all were scripted during the Chola times. Jayadeva's Gita Govindam was a follow-up of the Bhakti movement in South India. Kabir Das, a 15th century mystic poet, also had an influence of the Bhakti movement in India. Next one, secular literature. This is not related to the religion. Okay. Madura Vijayam and Amukta Malyada were poems composed by Ganga Devi and Krishna Devaraya, respectively, that help us gain insight into the events and individuals associated with the Vijayanagara Empire. Chanda Bardai's Prithviraj Raso portrays the Rajput king's valor. We have no Indian accounts about what happened during the Turkish invasion of India. For pre-Islamic periods, the only exception was Kalhana's Roger Tarangini. Okay, next one, books, biographies, autobiographies. Books, already you know books. Then what is a biography? Biography or simply bio is a detailed description of a person's life. Okay, that is biographies. Okay, we'll see about the biography. Minhaj as Siraj, patronized by Sultan Nazaruddin Muhammad of slave dynasty, he wrote Tabaqdi Nazri. Then next one, Hasan Nizami. We will see about here author and his book also. Hasan Nizami, Tajul Mazir. It provides information about Qutbuddin Aibak and is considered the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate. Next one, Ziaud Barni, a courtier of Muhammad Tughlaq, wrote Tariki Feroz Sagi. Okay. This is dealt with the history of Delhi Sultanate from Ghiyazuddin Balban to the early years of the region of Feroza Tughlaq. Okay. Feroza Tughlaq wrote Ferishta's Tariki Ferishta. It deals with the history of the rise of the Mughal power in India. Okay. Next one we will see about autobiography. What is autobiography? An account of a person's life written by that person. Okay, you see here, do you know? The bucket is an Arabic word meaning generations or centuries. Tusk is a Persian word meaning autobiography. Tariq or Tahik or Arabic word meaning history. Okay. In the 16th, this is now we will see about the autobiography. Okay, I will say the author name and his book name. Okay. In the 16th century, Emperor Babus wrote Babarnama, and Abul Fazls wrote Ayani-Akbari and Akbarnama. This is provided detailed information about these two emperors. Which emperor? Babur and Akbar. Okay. In the 17th century, we will see Jahangir. He wrote his memoir, Tuzuk-i-Jahangiri, throwing a lot of light on the period. Okay. Apart from autobiographies of emperors, Tabaq-i-Akbari, authored by Nizamuddin Ahmad. Before we saw that emperor wrote about his stories. Okay. Here, other author wrote the emperor histories. Okay. Tabaq-i-Akbari, authored by Nizamuddin Ahmad, is considered reliable than the exaggerated account of Abul Fazl. Similarly, Badauni's outstanding work, Tariq-i-Badauni. Badauni's history was published in 1595. Okay, this work spans 3 volumes. The volume on Akbar's region in a frank and critical account of Akbar's administration, particularly of his religious policy. Okay. Next one we will see about travelers and travelogue. Travelogue means a book, like book. Okay. Okay. First we will see. You see here Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo, Alberoni. Okay. Here have a foreign travelers. Where came from where? Then came to India, then which century? Okay, we will see about that. Okay, travelers and traveler. Marco Polo, he is a Venetian traveler, visited when the Pandyan kingdom was becoming the leading Tamil power in the 13th century. Marco Polo was twice in Koyal. Koyal was a port city. Presently, our Thoothukudi. Okay, presently in Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. Koyal, Pattanam, like that, port city, Tamil Nadu. It was full of ships from Arabia and China. Marco Polo tells us that he himself came by a ship from China. According to Marco Polo, thousands of horses were imported into southern India by sea from Arabia and Persia. Next one, Alberoni. You see, Alberoni. Okay, 11th century. Akamal Muhammad of Ghazni is one of his companions and stayed in India for 10 years. Okay, he learned Sanskrit and studied the philosophy of India in his book Tariq-i-Hind. Alberoni discussed the Indian conditions, systems of knowledge, social norms and religion. Next one, Ibn Battuta. Okay, 14th century. He is an Arab-born Morocco scholar, travelled from Morocco right across North Africa to Egypt and then to Central Asia and India. His traveler. His book was Rihla, that is the travels. Contains rich details about the people and the countries he visited. According to him, Egypt was rich then because of the whole of the Indian trade with the West passed through it. Ibn Battuta tells us of caste in India and the practice of sati. We learned from him that Indian merchants were carrying on a brisk trade in foreign ports and Indian ships in the seas. He describes the city of Delhi, a vast and magnificent city. Those were the days when Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred his capital from Delhi to Devagiri in the south, converting the city into a desert. In the south, Vijayanagar had many foreign visitors who left behind their detailed accounts of the state. An Italian named Nicola Conti came in 1420. Abdur Razak came from Hart, that is the court of Great Khan in Central Asia. In 1443, Domingo Paias, a Portuguese traveler, visited in city 1522. All of them recorded their observation, which are very useful for us today to know the glory of the Vijayanagar Empire. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.